Well, it hasn't been long since we took our first look at Land of the Vikings, and now there's some massive updates to the game that add a lot more features and make the game more complete, the way we want it to be. Hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and again, welcome to Land of the Vikings, out now on Steam and on sale until January 5th, 2023. Actually, I almost said 2022, but hey, Happy New Year's, guys. Today we're going to build ourselves a brand new city with the defense update, adding many more structures and more mechanics and gameplay to the game and how it's built and how you defend your settlement from raiders, and a lot of other features including longer days and trees regrowing faster, and one problem that I encountered, earthquakes being a massive problem, making it almost impossible to play the game without just repairing damage the whole time. But hey, that's what you get with an early access title, and it looks like they've made some good steps forward. So let's take our first step forward and start a new city in Land of the Vikings. Welcome aboard. Thank you very much for subbing, and you guys are awesome. Welcome to everyone. All right, so as usual, we can build ourselves a village with a name and a banner, so we can make the banner for our shield, flags, and our ships. Our sails could also have flags too, or I guess, you know, our logo on the actual sail, which is really cool. Let's take a look for any new maps. It looks like these are all pretty much standard from previous times. I think we'll start with small land here for today's purposes. We'll skip the tutorial, and looks like we can also disable it. Disasters, which I definitely want to do because I still am a little superstitious about them being a little overly aggressive. Although I think that only refers to earthquakes. I still believe fires should happen as a disaster, and that can be put out, of course, by your people by just building wells. So let's go ahead and call this New Raptorheim. There we go. And let's start ourselves a new map. Let's go. All right, here we are. Welcome to the Viking settlement, and let's take a look at what's new. So we have ourselves the homes for the Vikings. We have our storage for the Vikings, our food. Looks like we have production. I'm looking just for new buildings and maybe a new redesign of the buildings too, especially under military, where we now seem to have a watchtower. I don't remember that from before. A wooden gate and wooden wall and training camp are all found under that tab as well. And another great thing about this game is that we can increase the defense of our village by literally decorating it with defensive items too. So things like targets and dummies and things just kind of laying around that are related to military, like weapon racks, will increase the defense too. So the more you decorate and spend your money on things that would actually be used by the Vikings to defend themselves are here. And a lot of new banners and stuff. Great. New rocks, new banners, and different types of targets too. So much more bougie version of the archery targets and training dummies that cost a little bit more and seem to give more defense, maybe? It says it increases the defense of the village, but doesn't necessarily provide a number. Hey, and there's a new sorting system, too. Illumination. I don't recall any of this, so this might be new, and certainly helpful to be able to sort a decoration by whether or not it's military or farming, for example. Putting a scarecrow in your farms actually matters. All right, let's go ahead and get to a little bit more of the game. So another thing that I've heard that the developers have modified now is that harvesting of crops is now automatic. So here is the carpenter building where logs will be brought here to be turned into timber, basically planks that will be used for home construction. But one thing that was not automatic before was the planting, I think, of crops and the harvesting of crops. So you would pick a crop like wheat or barley, and by the end of the year, you'd have to manually click a button to have your people automatically harvest it every year. So it's kind of like a semi-auto process. But really, if you have farmers assigned to a farm, it should be a kind of a no-brainer that they'll do what they're supposed to do when the time is right. We're going to assign a carpenter now, and also apparently we can modify the size of roads, which I don't think was a thing before. So now we can make roads much bigger or smaller. So if you want to make a main road down the center of the camp and then a bunch of smaller roads going to the woods for cutting down trees, you could do that too. Well, the map's still looking really gorgeous. Nice detailing on the rocks. Look, you can even see like mold and things like that growing on the rocks too. Little weeds and things. Little flowers. Very nice. I love the detail of this, and in Frozenheim too, on the grass and in the flowers and such. Really gives it that prairie atmosphere. Very cool. All right, well, let's go ahead and start cutting down trees. As usual, we can select trees for cutting down, and we'll get to building homes out of that shortly. So now that the days have been increased by 20%, that also means that the years are a little bit longer. So we have more time to gather logs and stone and to harvest plants too. I think now in this game, just as before, you can do crop rotation where you can multiple harvest per year. So you can grow barley one year and then wheat in the same year. So it's not like it's, wheat is planted and grows and then is harvested in the same year. You can almost get several harvests in per year, which is a little unrealistic, but for now it's a good placeholder. Wow, I didn't realize there was a river up here. Oh, it's not a river. I thought it was like a shiny green water. Looks kind of like it with a little canal here. But there's plenty of materials around for us to gather. So, of course, we can mine stone, and we can also mine iron, and a few other things can be brought out of those mountains as well. Very cool. I think we can also get coal. Very nice looking. I still wish that we could place our Viking settlement wherever we want, especially the longhouse, if we wanted to put it slightly to the left or right. Obviously, this is the optimal location to settle, but it would be nice to have the option to maybe settle up here. Although, of course, you do want to be down by the shoreline so that way you can take advantage of building boats. If we take a look here. Yeah. It's wide out into the open. So that's kind of cool. No real bay or small fjord to defend. It's almost like we're right on the coast. Very cool. All right, our people are cutting down trees. We'll start mining a little bit of stone, too, clearing out area for construction of homes here shortly. It'll take a little bit of time, but while they're working, they're waiting for the first of the logs to arrive. And as usual, we have wood, timber, stone, dressed stone, silver, and meals to basically produce for the year. And cows are still wandering around. Hi, pal. How you doing? All right, let's build a few more poorhouses. So we can rotate with the Z and the mouse. And I think... oh, these two houses are like directly on top of each other. I believe there is a bonus for building very close to each other, which might increase happiness, especially when you start to put down city services like wells. So building homes and such together is probably not a great idea for fire, but also if you're going to put a wall around your city, you don't want your city to be massively sprawling, as it'll cost a lot more materials and a lot more manpower to be able to defend those walls. If you think about it, the longer the wall, the more towers to defend the perimeter, and thus more Viking troops will have to be dedicated to the defense of the village rather than going out on raids. So that's a thing to consider too. Population at 21. Fame is dictated by completing objectives and I think going on raids as well. Build 2 homes here. Try to house the rest of our Vikings and possibly encourage more to come. It looks like we have 3 homes. And they look really nice still too. I love the detailing on the houses. All the paintings. Really reminds me of Kratos' home in God of War. Of course, our logo is up here as well. So you can see your logo all over the map on different structures, including your longhouse, which is really cool. We can hold festivals. We can prioritize cutting trees over stone mining. So we'll tell everyone to prioritize that tree cutting first. And of course, those trees now grow back faster, so we don't have to walk as far into the woods. Before, we'd have to build long, sprawling roads into the forest in order to kind of like log from one area than the other. You'd spend like half a year logging in one area. Once it'd be clear cut, you'd go to another, and then you'd just kind of alternate as those trees would grow back. All right, let's build a gathering hut so we can get some food going, and let's get a market going too. Let's see, a gathering hut here. We want to go where productivity is the highest. Typically, it has to do with where the most trees are. That's not always the case. But I think it'd be a good idea to build it just behind the settlement, as we'll probably be building it in front of it and to the sides. Let's build our gathering hut here. Very good. And we'll build a road to that a little bit later. Another great thing to do is to build paths ahead of time. But now that we've got this smaller pathing system, I want to kind of see how it navigates through buildings with collision. So it does take silver to build. And unfortunately, it looks like there's a collision on the hitbox of a structure, not the actual side of the structure. So clearly, we should be able to build a road here. That should be able to like connect into a main road here. But it looks like it's limited by the hitboxes of buildings. So when you lay out your city, you'll just have to make sure there's enough room to maneuver between these different areas. But we can kind of get it real close and make it kind of work. Roads also cost silver, and silver will be earned by selling food, and other trading. But food is our first and most foremost way to get cash. And that's a pretty good way to make money, actually. Especially at the beginning, since all you're really doing is building roads. There we go. And I believe the Vikings' happiness will increase if they are connected to a road, too. So that will be something to increase happiness over time. One of the things right now is that the village is very dark at night. So they're essentially requesting that we put down torches and more lighting systems for the village. So pretty cool. And, of course, a way to build more curved roads. I do hope for additional road types in the future. Would be nice to not just have a path, but also to have maybe cobblestone or some other systems for a pathway. All right, logs are coming in. And let's open our carpenter. I had that closed before. We do need to hit open, which is a weird thing. I don't know why it always starts automatically and by default closed, especially once you assign a person to it. Might be a good feature in the future of the game is to, when you close a building, all the workers are put back into general labor pool, and then when you reopen a building, or rather if you assign somebody, then it reopens it automatically. That'd be kind of helpful. Because there is, of course, the large circular slash symbol for whenever a building is shut down. Oh, it looks like we could make even a smaller road than this. Oh, we could actually squeeze in. All right. Oh, not bad. A pretty free road system. Of course, we could build curved roads. But for now, we're going to make squares because the homes are squares. And so, of course, to fit that in is a little bit better. So I could imagine us building defenses that probably go all the way around like this. We would have something that's almost like an upside-down heart shape. Just based on the landscape here. But you could, of course, build defenses wherever you want. And let's see if there's anything else to see in the life tab. We have a herbalist hub, too. So they'll go out and get plants. And can do healing. I think we want markets first. We want food first. There's hunting as well. And a well. Woodshed, that'll be making firewood for us. There's our marketplace, warehouse too. Wood storage as well. Well, let's go ahead and put this behind the carpentry building. And that should be good there. Wow, they did a great job cutting down trees very quickly. Happiness going up. Probably because the nighttime debuff is gone. Kind of cool. There could actually be a debuff at night based on it actually just being nighttime. That's cool that there's a different happiness in the village based on the time of day. Perhaps it'll be the same with winter. Maybe there'll be a debuff for cold. Even if people have all the clothing that they need or food that they would want for the winter. And we'll build these little fire pits along the road. That'll look nice. Cool. And if we want to demolish a path, let's see if we can snip the end of that one off. No, it'll have to take the whole road. Okay. So everything's built in kind of nodes. It reminds me of how it is in City Skylines. Although in City Skylines, if you do connect a road like midway, you can cut off the end of it, kind of snip that off, and then make like a perfect 90-degree turn if you want to, or something like that. All right, so we need stone delivered for the marketplace too. We do have plenty of stone for that. And we also need wood delivered, to which we have plenty of that as well. So it'll just be a matter of time until they construct that. Let's build a winding path just to see how that looks now, if there's been any changes to the pathing system. It looks like it's pretty good at doing what it had before. No real notable changes here. There is an angling control, though. We can hold Z and make it a much tighter turn, but smooth like that looks a little bit better. Almost looks too realistic, really. Looks too perfect, I should say. Alright. Cut down some more trees. We'll leave that tree behind the houses. We don't want every tree near the camp to be cut down. We'll continue to cut these trees here and go up into this woods. So if we build roads to these forests and kind of leave them alone, we'll have kind of like a highway going into the forest where they can cut trees down faster and then be able to bring those logs back too. It's going to cost us silver, so we should probably wait until we've got like the marketplace going. Go ahead and give buildings priority. Make the gatherer hut a top priority here. And we'll probably make a smaller road for that. Pretty nice that we can make wide roads. Those seem to be most appropriate down by the piers. Or down by where you would build your dock. There we go, a little bit of windiness there. That looks more realistic. Alright. Let's take a look at those defensive walls again. Again, that's what's new here, is the ability to build walls that are not necessarily a decoration anymore, but that strengthen the defense of the village. And it looks like it's a research that has to be unlocked in the Tree of Life. So if we go down here, we'd actually unlock new types of technology. So we'll kind of see how far it is away from us. Well, let's take a look at what we start with. Villagers are happier. They'll work okay, let's go with the faster work. And I think they might work faster if they're happier too. Transition to settled life. We can start with farming. Looks like we start with more points at the beginning. I kind of remember farming being something that you could not do until a little later. Can't necessarily recall, but it was not something that I would focus on for the first year. It would be like gathering herbs and maybe fishing for the first year, if you got lucky. Crop durability. We can dig deep. Let's just kind of keep going up the tree to see what else might be up there. Looks like we have our shipyard, and it looks like defenses might be close by. That could be that looks like water there, but defenses could be somewhere nearby. There's the ships here, improved ships. It's hard to see, but the first couple of years our main enemy is Mother Nature, and cold and starvation, so we don't have to really worry about a military for the first few years. Well, let's speed up time a little bit now that we've got everything kind of set for the first year of construction. I do wish that when these buildings were being constructed, we could connect to the structure while it's under construction. You can kind of snap to a building like this once it's completed, and that's kind of nice. It looks like we can even make the pathway shorter at the homes. Very nice. Wow, this looks gorgeous, man. Very, very beautiful. I've not yet been able to see the end game of this game either, so I believe this is something that will live stream more in depth on the channel. So if at this point you're really curious about this game, I would like to feature more of it too, including going out on Viking raids, which were almost impossible before because of all the earthquakes and natural disasters that were all far too frequent. So now that we've got the ability to either turn that off, or they've been patched to be a little less aggressive as of mid-December 2022, well, now hopefully we can actually go out on some raids and do so without the fear of our village being completely burned down by the time we return. Not only earthquakes, but I should also say I think lightning strikes were frequent, to where it would be a lightning strike, and then an earthquake, and then another lightning strike. And buildings can be rebuilt in this game with the smaller material cost, but of course it takes time for them to bring over the materials and then reconstruct. And so half the town would be burned down and destroyed, and then the other half would have to be rebuilding it. I just saw the northern lights up there too. That's gorgeous. Another thing I haven't seen. And I see some trees up there covered in snow up in the mountains. Very cool. A lot of little features that I have not noticed previously. Nope, not sure what that said. I clicked on it to make it pop up, but it's one of those hover over things. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look here at our jobs. We have our villagers here. And we've gathered a ton of materials. Tons of materials. Go with our management now of jobs. Alright, so now we need to assign people as builders. I'd forgotten that. We'll assign a few builders. Now that we've cleared a lot of trees out, we can actually do some building. Not a bad idea in this game to focus solely on material gathering for the first few days and then start building, because if you have everybody focused firstly on cutting down all the trees and moving the rocks, you can then just make it a lot easier to build, because, well, it's kind of impossible to build without the materials. So if for the first few days you have people gathering materials, then you can store all those, and then when the builders start, they'll have a lot more materials to build with. We'll go with 10 laborers, 7 builders, and then we'll start assigning people to the marketer. Looks like the jobs here are kind of the same. We have people attending to the chicken coops, brewers, millers, fishermen, hosts for the tavern, herbalist, and people who can go out on expeditions, go out and raid. And we can also pin that with the safety pin. Kind of nice. Alright, so now construction could truly begin. But it couldn't without all the land being cleared. Luckily, building near the coastline like that is a little more or less clear of trees. Let's cut down some more trees here. And again, we're always going to be needing wood. And that's why the tree growth has been increased in this update. And I believe that's also why days have been increased too, so you have more time to actually cut them down, since you have to travel further. And that gives you more time to gather food and hunt and whatnot before winter. As you can see, it's almost summer of our first year. And so it's, yeah, we're 5 days in on our first year. And the day-night cycle looking great. I think it was a lot darker previously in this game too. And one of the things that developers I have seen more and more doing, especially in survival city builders, is making it completely dark at nighttime. And I appreciate that for the realism, but when you're in a city builder, it's almost impossible to see. Again, realistic in games like Medieval Dynasty, where you're in a first-person or third-person mode, playing as an individual. So lighting torches and traveling on foot and not being able to see makes sense. But in a city builder, when it's nighttime, you want to be able to see, whether it's city skylines or Workers and Resources Soviet Republic, you want to be able to see. And I think that game, Workers and Resources, was also guilty of the same thing, where at nighttime it was just impossible to see. And makes it a little difficult to make a city from scratch, especially when you don't have power. All right, more resources coming in. So the Gatherer's Hut, I made that the top priority here. Looks like they're almost done building it. Another great thing about this game is, if this is your first time seeing it, attributes of people with intelligence and with luck and other things do matter when you place somebody into a job. So at a Gatherer's Hut, speed and luck kind of matter when it comes to gathering berries and fruits. So we'll go with 2 of the fastest people. We can also see how far they live from this building too. So everybody here is about 55 meters away. So you will want to build multiple houses closer to each industry. So if, for example, we have a gathering hut all the way up in the north, and we have a fishing dock all the way in the south, it's a good idea to build houses in between, so that way the workforce can change. And your workers will always die. Disease and disaster may strike, or starvation or whatnot. So a good idea to make sure they've got somebody. Oh, workplace accidents can also occur. So just like in Banished, for example, someone can be crushed by a rock or whatnot at a mine, and or drown at sea. So that's a good idea to make sure you've got people nearby ready to take their place, and always have some backup workers too. Always a good idea to have a few more workers than what you have jobs for. So if you have 25 jobs, 30 workers, good idea to have, including your military. Home construction. I see we have our foreman. He's watching construction here. All right, and oh wow. Oh, okay. I assume he approves. Fantastic. Oh yeah, the animals in this game, they're funny. I've even seen cows walk inside the longhouse before, so that's pretty funny. All right, let's assign somebody for the market. We'll just start with 1. Oh, there's even little tooltips, even though we've turned tutorial off. I appreciate that, because you can easily close that with the push of a button. Boop. Perfect. Okay, so now we've got everybody with a home, I hope. We've got everybody with a... or at least we have a market for everybody to take advantage of. There we go. All right. I want to leave these trees alone for the Gatherer's Hut up here. We'll try to only cut down from far behind it or over here on this left side. Again, I like to leave a few trees on purpose, just to make things look not so barren. Shouldn't have used the word barren. Alright, what else do we have for trees? Yeah, lots over here too. So, if you think you've cut down enough trees in this game, you haven't. You always need more and more and more. I don't think there's a forester structure in the game still, but the trees regrow so quickly that it's almost not necessary. And you can actually save a little bit of workforce because of the mechanics of the game, focusing more on taking advantage of nature rather than like farming so much. Although there is farming, so that's the thing. All right, we are producing meals now, and they are being sold at the market. We're down to 2 out of 4. Just dropped down, and we made some silver from that. A little green flash showing that we had made some money. Not bad. All right, well, hopefully we make some more knowledge points soon from the tree, so that way we can unlock the defenses. It might not happen, but again, that's why live streams are great, to see all that end game content without taking too long. Oh, looks like the mine is a little different, or at least the image of it appears to be a little different. The windmill appears to be the same, stone cutters as well. Brewery and a stone pit. Woodsheds. And of course all the decorations. Oh, increases the storage space of some buildings. That's great. So if we put that within range of the market, it'll just simply increase the amount of food that can be stored there, or whatever that we may be selling. All right, let's go for the herbalist hub now, and then we're also going to build a little storage area for the wood, although we don't need to. It's kind of cool to be able to increase the numbers for that. Now again, we're making our buildings so, like, not cluttered, but so close together. They're smushed in. They're wall to wall, and that's again for the defenses. Playing games like Dawn of Man, which is an ancient caveman city builder, have really taught me to build those buildings close to, again, shorten the length of the wall so that way defenses are easier. It's a lot harder to defend a larger wall, and again, it takes more manpower to do so. So it's a great idea to, well, worst case scenario, build double gated community if you need to. Of course, you could do what they did with old medieval castles and save room around your longhouse and delete homes to build a wall around that and then a wall around everything else. So you can do an outer and an inner wall specifically around your longhouse. So that way, that doesn't get destroyed as easy. I think we got a great amount of builders now. I think we'll switch that down to about 4 and let everybody else become laborers. Remember, laborers are your people who will mine stone and also cut down trees. And those are the people who are the greatest at it's a form of construction, really, to clear the land before building. So very important. And wow, look at those trees have regrown already. I believe if we cut these down while they're still growing, they'll produce less timber or wood. So just make sure that you kind of wait a little bit on those. I may have done that too early, but again, it doesn't matter too much, as we're not really desperate for wood at the moment. All right, the herbalist hub is going down next. I think we'll focus on one project at a time. And I think we will probably start our farm next year for tradition. So this time we will focus on our fishing, which I think we've unlocked, right? Yeah, our fishing hut here. We will need a boat dock, though, a shipyard, in order to make small boats. But somebody can fish off the end of the dock. So we can take advantage of the fishing dock, but it doesn't work at its full capacity until we make 4 fishing boats after we get that other research in the tree. So that would be the research that I think is right here. Yeah, the shipyard. Place where all kinds of ships are produced. Now, arguably, I wish that the fishing dock could make their own boats. It would be nice that a fishing boat small enough to where I could imagine it being built on like the side of the fishing dock, because boats are also maintained there in real life, and netting and things like that are stored. But I also believe the boats will take damage, and if you've seen us play Austria before on this channel, you'll be all familiar with repairing boats and repairing carts and things like that over at a separate building. So the building that will manufacture them, the shipyard that we'll put here, will eventually make those boats and take care of them too. All right, the herbalist hut is ready. Gonna take somebody with a big O brain. Let's get this person. They live a little closer, so let's go with that, so they don't have to walk as far. Honestly, the distance really doesn't matter too much until you get about over maybe 125 meters. I've not seen too many problems in the game of productivity with people having to walk, so long as you've laid paths. But farming is definitely important, of course, to reach that deadline before they've hit the, the point where the crops will wither or die because of the cold. So before the plants die, it's a good idea to make sure the farmers are closer to their job. But just make sure that things aren't too crazy. Obviously, when you build a mine, you have to go to the minerals. So if you build like a mine up here, per se, you will have to build a small little neighborhood up there so that way they can walk. Think of it almost like house building in Tropico. If you've seen that game, you'll know that even though you're on an island nation with roads, people don't want to walk as far to get to their work, which makes sense. So you'll build almost smaller towns. People will still be able to walk to this town to buy all their food and medicine, but they prefer to work closer to their job, or live closer to their work, I should say. Work close to home. All right. Things are looking good. Any debuffs? Not really. Things are at 80%. Of course, we can get a couple of buffs to improve that. I like to build the higher quality poorhouse as well eventually. We did go for some of the lower quality ones to get them done, but keep in mind that this works similar to how it does in Banished, where firewood will have to be made. We'll work on that next. And the better the home is, the more efficient they are on firewood, so the less of it you'll need to make. We'll go ahead and build a woodshed now. And we'll probably put that next to the market if we can. Right here would be a great spot. Unfortunately, we can't squeeze it in. We were able to just for a moment. We got to build it right there. Literally right on the road. Now, this is a building that doesn't need anyone assigned to it, and anytime any of the homeowners need firewood, they'll come to this building and basically grab a log out of storage and chop it themselves. First time I've seen that in a game where somebody's not dedicated to making firewood. Kind of cool. Now let's put down a log pile. And we'll put that near the chopping, the market, and the carpenter. There we go. Not sure if that's like a hitching post for horses or whatever, or if it's an area for the sawmill to be able to cut logs, but it's seemingly just fine. Well, a lot of people are tired there. They're in their homes, taking a little nap. Now, unfortunately, in this game, to upgrade a home, still, we have to completely demolish a home. So it could be, it might almost be better to make sure you've got a bunch of resources to delete a building and then just quickly replace it with an updated home. If you're fast enough, the person won't even know that they were homeless briefly. They'll just come home from work to a completely new home. So it's kind of funny. They'll go off at their job at like the herbalist hut and come back and suddenly be in a whole new home. If you're fast enough with your supplies and your workers. The poorhouses are kind of expensive when they get on the higher tier, with 25 stone required. We could probably only build 4 of them right now, even though we have 5 in the neighborhood. So it's a good idea to start building the better ones as soon as you can, although their footprint is a little bigger, which is why they can't be upgraded. And then we can start deleting the other homes and building wells near them. Of course, we'll give them a boost, and that's good. Nice. All right, let's go for a well. A little bit of a happiness boost here. And that'll get built as well. All well and good. All right, I think we started with 21 people. Now we're at 26. People can have children. I think it might be dependent. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it might be dependent on if they have more space in their homes. So, for example, here, Hermund and Legatha had a child based on being married in their own home. Wow, it looks like they can almost have like 4 or 5 children. And then, of course, just like in Banished, once they grow up, they want to live in their own home to start their own family. So you can kind of population restrict by not providing additional homes so people can't move out as quickly, but eventually they will want their own homes, and it's a good thing to do for happiness. But you can kind of slow things down if you're having trouble with like food or something. You might want a year to pass before you build additional homes, so you can do it that way if you need to stock up on wheat or flour. All right, yeah, we're only down to 60 logs still. Go ahead and cut down these trees. These are mature. Those are rated M for mature. Go with these as well. Actually, can we make this area larger? No. Unfortunately, for the tree painting, we can't make this larger. That'd be nice. If we could get a bigger paintbrush just to be able to drag it once through this little valley. That way you don't have to go back and forth a few times. But it's all good. Alright, what about stone? Got those being gathered here and here. Looks like 2 more up there. And 2 more up there. But we've still made priority on gathering logs, so that's good. 25 wood still needs to be delivered to the poorhouse. We can actually make stone storage for our town, so we can build stone and wood storage. I think we can already store these materials inside the longhouse, I believe. I think they store some of those materials there, but I can't see a number on that, and I thought that's how that worked. But regardless, always a good idea to build extra storage for all of your goods. Let's build a wood storage next to the carpenter and the woodcutter. And I believe this will only store logs. But we also need to build a warehouse so we can store advanced things, like those planks. We'll build this behind the marketplace. There we are. Cool. Now I'm channeling a lot of my, I guess, city building from Frozenheim, where, of course, that game has a lot of the same things, too, with the ability to build homes and then eventually do farming and ironsmithing and things like that. Again, that's another game where you can build defensive walls and need to build a very tight village along with Dawn of Man. So playing those games, if you've heard of those or played those before, a lot of those same concepts that you may have learned from those games will go into this, especially with building all those new defenses. Or at least a rework way of building the gates and the walls and the watchtowers. Pretty cool, though, now that we can focus a little bit more on the defense, rather than it just being like a decorative or an afterthought. It's now an actual mechanic to the game. And very cool that it's going to be easier to get to building those ships now, because we have a little bit more time to do so without a year passing quickly. Winter's a very big downtime, as you would imagine. And not a lot can get done except for maybe fishing, so fishing and logging and maybe some construction. Speaking of which, let's assign somebody to the fishing dock now. Oh, that's our boats. Let's assign somebody who is very smart. 96 meters away. Again, not too bad, especially with the paths. And we'll build a path that goes down there. Looks like we are limited, though, in the path length. So we can't just build a massively long, straight path. It has to be about maybe the size of the longhouse at the most. So if we build a path, it has to be done in sections about that long. It's about 3/4 of the longhouse. Cool. Alright, 2 more buildings going up. The advanced poorhouse, like the tier 3 poorhouse and the warehouse. I feel like they should give these different names. Poorhouse makes it feel as if these families are being punished, you know, like, oh, we're in the poorhouse. I think it should be more like, you know, maybe it should be, I don't know, cabin, or perhaps Scandinavian names for these types of structures, if there's different names, to differentiate them, as if they're different tiers. Although they're still kind of like the starter homes, I at least appreciate that we can build something other than just the bottom tier, and then have to research others. I like how it's more open. All right, we do have a point at the Tree of Life. Let's go with the boat making. We need 4 points for that. So let's go ahead and save that up. We can do fishing and provide more food. More food means more money. More money means more things we can build and decorate. Now, here's the defense rating of our camp. Now, I'm not sure exactly how those walls are going to affect that, but I would hope that perhaps the length of the walls, the towers, and the gates would all maybe increase that number, which would kind of make it more beneficial if you built a large defense, and also number of troops that are there. Although it says warriors on mission are not included in the defense, so that means anybody here training or who has been trained and is back from a raid will count for the defense of the village. That's good. All right, let's build a little path back here. Now, eventually, we will be able to take advantage of those cattle that are walking around, and we'll get chickens and goats and things like that, too. And I think in this game, they had it kind of mixed around in a weird way. I'm not sure. We have a cattle ranch and a goat ranch. And the goat ranch It doesn't create like goat milk or we can make goat cheese. But they make wool. And you'd think that would be more for sheep. I'm not sure, can goats be used for wool? I mean, I suppose anything could be slaughtered for its hide. Like, for example, deer or cow, which is a great thing to build the hunter for. Be able to get that. So we'll do that now. But, yeah, I'm not sure. Build our hunting hut. We can see the productivity of this. And again, I think this is dictated by number of trees. Oh, looks like productivity here would be 100%. I don't think we can get any higher than that either. But I would appreciate percentage higher than 100. 100 would be like optimal, and then anything else would be a bonus. It looks like we can get a bonus by putting the hunter next to the gatherer, so let's do that. Already kind of a pre-built road. We don't have to do anything crazy. I wish there was more feedback for the hunting and the gathering in this game. I do wish that we could see maybe number of deer or like number of berries when you're putting down a gatherer's hut. I feel like there'd be more things to gather too, like berries, mushroom, and those people can also gather herb here at the gatherer hut, so they also work for the medicine gathering in the town. They bring it back to the herbalist who then basically grows things and dries it out inside or outside the building. Alright, let's see. Oh, we're out of stone again. But we prioritized wood. But our production of that is slowing down, so let's go ahead and switch those around. We'll go for mining now. Hey, one of the houses is complete. Good. We can store 30 additional logs there. And stone, I guess until we build a quarry, we're not going to really need to worry about that too much. If we gather 100 stones, each tier 3 poorhouse takes 25, so it won't be too long until those stones are gobbled up quickly. But we'll continue to gather them around. Trees have been cut down and will sprout again unless a construction is built in that area. So trees will continually regrow continuously until you build something there. So as our camp expands, that means we're kind of taking up our forestry area too. So another reason to keep your camp nice and tidy. Or cramped, really. Let's see. Wheat and barley storage marketplace. Of course, we can start with farming, but now, wow, now we're up to 32 people. How many people are here? 11 laborers. I think I want about 15 before we go any further. We do want some additional workers for when we have the fishing dock ready. Fishing is a great way to continuously get food in the winter, since the water behind us is salt water and it won't freeze. Not as much anyway. Well, a little late to get started on this, but we'll do it. Build a windmill over here. And we'll also start farming. Now, I like how fields are done in this game. It's very similar to how it is in Ostriv, where you fence off an area. So we can basically make an area about this large. It will snap into position. This is kind of like the maximum field size that you can make. And we can also make... it doesn't have to be completely square. As you see, we kind of went with a kitty corner here. So we can do 4 edges, or you can make it any way you'd like to. Well, let's go with wheat for now. And we'll order that to be planted. And there's still a harvest button, but I believe this is like an emergency harvest. So if you're a few days away from winter and your crops are about 80% done and you want to harvest them before they're truly done, you can then check these two. What? Explore in the Tree of Life to unlock this feature? To tell people to automatically plant? No. Again, I protest. If somebody is assigned to a farm field, they should then automatically know when to plant and to harvest. These should be automatically unlocked. They shouldn't be researched to tell somebody to do the job that they've taken. That's like clicking on the carpenter and telling him to chop each individual log into a plank, or telling the fisherman to then, once they've baited the hook, set the line. Once they've, once the fish is biting, to then reel it in. I'm the Jarl. I'm building buildings and giving orders to the town. I like the option to early harvest, but I can't believe it's actually research. Wow, I'm glad we found that out. That I protest. That should, again, additionally be changed. Okay, well, let's make this a higher priority to build. We need 50 stone. And we do have our people gathering stones as quickly as they can. I guess we'll tell them to gather everything. Eventually, we will need to build a stone quarry. That's how we'll get stone later on. Coal and iron will all be brought in from mining. And I do believe, it is my belief, I think that we can, with a iron mine or a coal mine, or whatever you choose, I think there's, either I would like it to produce byproduct of a little extra stone, or it should do that. One of the two. I think that should be a thing where if you're mining coal or iron, that you should also get a surplus of stone, but it shouldn't be anywhere near the amount of stone you get from the stone quarry. Maybe you get, for every 50 coal that you mine, you get 5 stone, or something like that. But it could be usable, and it's pretty smart to be able to use all those materials. Alright, more material being delivered. You can see our people bringing over, yep, all the stone and all the logs. And that was just the first phase to build the foundation. I like this too. This is how it works in Austria, where things are done in phases. So as you see here, this orange bar, the first phase is the foundation. The second is kind of like the walls and things like that. And then the last section is like all the working parts of the windmill and detailing. Oh, yes. And just like in Frostpunk and many other city builders, you have kind of like events that pop up where it'll affect people's happiness. Now, we could exile somebody, but I think we're just going to have them pay for the loss. I don't know. There's a few things that just create tension and bump up and down happiness between people based on your decisions. But it's like you're a Jarl. Like you're making the decision. Alright, so now that we got the farm going, did we assign anybody? We will need workers here now. Again, no rush because it's a little too late in the season to make a big difference, but we'll go with 4. 4 farmers. And we can't turn it into wheat, I think, or flour till the next year. But the nice thing about the windmill is it is a 2-in-1 building. It will make flour and then turn that into bread. There's not a way to make like a mill and a bakery. It's kind of just one thing together. Bread is made from wheat, as it says. Alright, the worker is working. Put in some scarecrows. We used that filter from before. There we are. So we'll see how much we can get done before the end of fall. Maybe we do have enough time. You know, judging with the 20% extra days, we might have a lot more time than I think, because now that we're 14 days in, all of that time is compounded. And we've got a lot more time than we think we do, which is great. Developers, I appreciate how games are being developed nowadays where there's not as much... There's a lot more bugs and a lot more issues with games because essentially they're making a lot more effort to try to listen to community feedback and put out a game to allow people to test it so features and wants can be... It's a double-edged sword, and it results in a lot more bugs and frustration than usual, but at least we do get games that don't necessarily have tons of expansion packs and DLCs, but essentially get free updates all the time, and that's why it's always a great idea to check out games whenever they have something new happening. So, for example, this game now getting its defensive update, or themed updates for other games like Traveler's Rest. Always great to see games, developers listening to the feedback from the community and coming up with roadmaps, and then people wanting things added on top of that. I really can't think of a lot of games that have just come out that don't get updates that do major fixes and patches, even AAA titles. And for example, even, GTA is still being updated online with new missions and things. You could argue that that game's still not complete then if they're still adding content to it. But at least we have ourselves another city builder. Good times. All right, let's build that mill. But I don't think anything will hit as hard as Banished did. I must say, I'm really impressed with how many games are still heavily inspired by Banished. Even Manor Lords has a lot of things taken right from Banished, and in terms of how some of the building mechanics in that game work, and some of the customization options, and like crop rotation and farming. Even Farthest Frontier has a lot of that too. Anno, a little bit of that as well. All that grid-based city building. But a lot of you appreciate curved roads and the freedom to place buildings wherever you want to. And that, of course, looks a lot more realistic. This looks a lot more believable in its layout than, grid-based building. But I think grid-based is a little more top-down like this, and also allows for a lot bigger maps because of that. Because the detailing here is just sweet. Look at that. I mean, that's gorgeous. Mother Nature is beautiful. All right, well, the farm is nearing its completion. Just need the workers then the construction workers to come over and build that. Take a look at the farmers. Oh, they're actually watering. Oh, right. Well, I mean, that's a well. Great. So they actually need to irrigate too. Very cool. I didn't remember that, so we lucked out in building the well over there. I mean, I planned that out intentionally, and totally as a YouTuber, I know what's going on at all times, and in no way, shape, or form ever make a mistake. Yep. All right, so it looks like planting is done. So yeah, they're watering now. It looks like planting is first, then watering, and then the growing stage, and then they have to harvest. And we can leave the windmill unassigned until there's crops. Yeah, so planting, watering, growing, and then between this ready to harvest and dead, we have to harvest. So plants will wilt, even if they're not in the season to where they would actually wilt. So if it's midsummer and we're harvesting wheat, which we can do, IRL, it will actually die off. So we don't get as much time as we'd hope. So yeah, a good idea to always keep that assigned with farmers. Bum ba dum bum 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 bum. All right. So I think we should build a grain storage. And I also think we should build another farm field. And we should build it near the other one, since there is the water nearby. And barley will go for brewing. And then, of course, we make the brewery in the tavern. And I'm not sure if we can make those right away, so it might not be as important to do now until we've got that unlocked. We do have the brewery, but do we have the tavern? We do not. So we could make beer. We might be able to trade it, but I don't think we can distribute it without the tavern. Regardless, though, it seems like a better idea to keep everybody assigned to what they're doing now. And it's going to be a while until we unlock everything needed to unlock a shipbuilder, which would be nice. Otherwise, we could only have one person at the fishing hut. But arguably, I think that should change. I'd like the fishing hut to be able to just make boats on its own. I think that's something we could easily do. Food isn't too hard to get anyway, so far. Just with the gatherer hut and the farm, we have pretty much all that set. And it looks like the hunter needs a lot of planks. And it looks like, yeah, we should assign another person to work here then. At the carpenter. And we set the max to 60, but they're at 0, so we'll just have to do more. Alright, we're getting into the mid-autumn now. There we go. Perfect. We'll just order every tree to be cut down. Wow. Boy, oh boy, did we do that. We're going to need a lot more planks. And a lot more stone, too. It would be nice if we could actually separate our workforce. We have 5 laborers right now. It would be nice to, tell them specifically what to do. But we'll go for tree cutting now. since we're going to make a lot more planks for that hunter. And we'll need a lot more for that as well. A lot more workers for the hunter and a lot more people in the labor pool. So we could probably build some more homes. Let's do it. Alright, cool. Another house built. Oh, yep, we have some homeless inside the longhouse. I like how they're not necessarily living out and sleeping in the ground. I like how they can stay at the longhouse, but they're just not as happy that they don't have their own home. They want more privacy. And we'll build another house here. But I think another great thing to take away from this is that our defenses don't necessarily have to circle the entirety of the city. I think we'd use the landscape to our defense as well. Building a wall from here all the way across the kind of the cliffs to this side too will block any invaders from the sea. We also want to be wary of somebody landing and just getting behind us. Like Viking boats don't just have to land here. But it raises an interesting question as to what the best way to defend will be. And how to build towers. And where exactly to build them and what their range will be. But a lot of that will just have to be unlocked in the life tree. Alright everyone, well that is it for my time here today. We'll continue on with more Land of the Vikings in a live stream very soon, so make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you for a full playthrough of the current version with the defense update for Land of the Vikings. Again, remember, this game is on sale on Steam until January 5th, 2023 for the Big O Steam Winter Sale going on, but it's a good one to pick up at any time, and it's certainly one that I enjoy, and I want to keep tracking all of the improvements. Thanks again for all of your support, awesomeness, and positivity and kindness down below in the comments section. If you made it this far, let me know where you're watching from, or let me know what some of your favorite games are, or other recommendations that you'd like to see me play on the channel. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, everybody.